Assalamualaikum and good evening to the audience and all the panel. Thank you for joining us today, which is Awareness of Sexual Harassment sharing session. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Muhammad Adam Aiman bin Maripin and I will be your moderator today. Next, allow me to introduce all of our panel today. For panel number 1, we have Madam Nur Shasha Inshirah binti Maswari as a counsellor. For panel number 2, we have Miss Nur Iman Dayana binti Ismail binti Yaakob as a teacher from public school. Today, our session topic is about sexual harassment. According to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, sexual harassment includes unwelcome sexual advance, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical harassment of a sexual nature in the workplace or learning environment. This harassment can occur anywhere, regardless of place or time. So, without wasting any time, let's start our sharing session today. So, Miss Shasha, what do you know about sexual harassment? Can you share with us?
Thank you to our dearest moderator. So before further discuss, let me briefly explain to all of you what sexual harassment is all about. As pursuant to the Employment Act 1955, sexual harassment is defined as any unwanted action of a sexual nature, either it is verbal, non-verbal, visual, gestural or physical directed at a person, which can humiliating them, which is offensive and it can give a threat to their well-being. The most obvious example of sexual harassment is in the form of an unwanted physical act like touching, petting, pinching, stroking, hugging, kissing, and many more. So I will moving on to the next aspect, which is sexual harassment can be in many forms as introduced in the Sexual Harassment Code in 1999. First, it is a verbal harassment, which is making sexually suggestive comment either through jokes, jesting, kidding, sounds, and questioning. Next, it is as a gestural harassment, which refers to non-verbal that conducted as making gestures or facial expression with a sexual nature, staring in a sexually suggestive manner, whistling or making sexually suggestive sound. Next, visual harassment, such as the acts of showing such pornographic materials, photograph of naked and scantily clad women, drawing sex-based letters to others, and many more. And the last one is psychological harassment, which it will be the repeated unwanted social invitation, such as relentless proposal for dates and physical intimacy. I think that is all from me.
So you said that sexual harassment can happen in form of verbal, gestural, visual, and psychological. Okay, thank you for your sharing. Next, I have mentioned that sexual harassment can occur in any place, and it is included at workplace. So, Miss Diana, as a senior officer of MBSB Bank, can you share with us what is sexual at workplace and its example?
Thank you, moderator, for the question. The issue that we will be focusing upon in this webinar is sexual harassment, but within the workplace. As a senior officer of MBSB Bank, for over 10 years, I have witnessed a few incidents of sexual harassment in the workplace. So what is considered sexual harassment at work, and how does it differ from non-sexual harassment? Sexual harassment in the workplace refers to a verbal or physical act with a sexual nature performed in recruitment or in the workplace by a boss, manager, employee, client, or customers of a working unit that is unwelcome by the person receiving it and has caused the person to feel violated, insulted, and being in unbearable, hostile environment. So in a survey by Women's Aid Organization, 62% out of 1,010 Malaysian women survey reported that they experienced some form of sexual harassment in their workplace. The hashtag #MeToo movement, a movement intended to encourage people to share their experience of sexual harassment, has been gaining a momentum in Malaysia because by most of the employees increasingly using their social media to share their sexual harassment. So let me give you some examples of sexual harassment in the workplace and what can you do about it in daily working life. So for example, sharing sexually inappropriate images or videos such as pornography with co-workers, telling lewd jokes, or making inappropriate sexual gesture, staring in sexually suggestive or offensive manner, or whistling, making sexual comments about appearance, clothing, or body parts, and the most common thing, which is inappropriate touching, including pinching, like Madam Shasha said, patting, rubbing, or purposefully brushing up against another person. These are just a few examples of sexual harassment and what can you do about it in daily working life. So firstly, don't blame yourself. Many sexual harassment victims blame themselves for encouraging the harasser's behavior. By blaming yourself or ignoring the situation, you send out the message that the harasser has the right thing to continue such action. Harassers are usually aware that others are offended by their action but will continue if they feel they can get away with it. Next, just say no clearly and firmly. If you feel uncomfortable or violated, address these concerns immediately. Don't ignore it, hoping that it will go away. Say no clearly and firmly to make the harasser stop. An example is, no, please stop. It makes me uncomfortable when you talk to me or touch me that way. I would prefer that you didn't do it again. I hope we can have a professional relationship. Statements like that can prevent the harasser from denying that he was aware that you felt uncomfortable by his behavior. Note that objection by the victim is an important condition to constitute sexual harassment and that your statement will be important evidence in litigation. Lastly, find a way to speak out. Tell your story to someone who will understand you, a friend, your sister, a mother, or call a hotline. Let others help you. Don't ever bottle it up. Such a story will bring both psychological comfort and support. This can be evidence too if you decide to file a complaint or lawsuit later. It is important that you first report the harassment to your employer's human resource department, as well as taking detailed notes of the dates, times, and nature of the incidents. I think that is all from me. Thank you.
So you have mentioned that telling lewd jokes or making inappropriate sexual gesture are one of the examples of sexual harassment in workplace. Okay, thank you for your sharing. Next, sexual harassment can happen in school. So, Madam Intan, as a teacher of public school, can you share with us how sexual harassment can happen in school?
Thank you, moderator and other panelists. Now I will continue with sexual harassment in school. It is worrisome on how many cases of sexual harassment has been recorded in academic setting. School is also a place where sexual harassment can happen. Sexual harassment is also a major concern among the students in the Malaysian school. Sexual harassment in schools can be committed either against peers or against the teacher or administrator. Sexual harassment will be considered happen if the accused behavior is unwanted or undesirable. The behavior must be perceived as sexual by the recipient as well as disrespectful, degrading, or endangering his or her well-being. The kids must be made aware of sexual harassment that usually occurs during or after school hours by peers, teacher, or other people. Sexual harassment can occur both within and outside of school, including the classroom, the school parking lot, the locker room, during field trips, during sporting events, and even out of school, such as on the way to and from school. However, sexual harassment is more likely to occur when school authorities are not showing a good observation, such as during lunch or during class breaks. Example of sexual harassment behavior that usually happen in school include touching, grabbing, intense brushing against the body, inappropriate jokes, insulting statement about one's appearance, forcing the victim to kiss someone, spreading sexual rumors about another, and physically blocking someone in a sexual way. Additionally, more females than male are said to have experienced sexual harassment in school, and this has an effect on how well they perform in school, such as making it difficult to perform, making them feel frightened, and lowering their self-esteem. When someone is subjected to sexual harassment at school, it can diminish their sense of self-worth and safety and prevent them from achieving excellence in their life. The victim also have to deal with depression after the harassment. For your information, depression is a common psychological disorder associated with sexual harassment victims. Depression is among the most important psychological and emotional feelings that the harassed person may experience, and this feeling may lead them to suicidal thoughts. Sexual harassment happen in school because of uncontrolled exposure to sexual content from internet. Students may become tempted to execute sexual acts on peers when they are exposed to sexual content that is readily available through any internet browser. Other than that, activities in a secluded environment. Sexual harassment is more likely to happen when male and female are permitted to do a task in a secluded area compared to those who are working in a group or in an open space. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
So you said that sexual harassment happened because of the uncontrolled exposure of sexual content from internet that made the student tempted to do it in school, and also from group tasks that assigned from the teacher. So thank you for your sharing. So without any doubt, sexual harassment cases should not be underestimated because sexual harassment can cause a lot of effect to the victim. For example, in terms of psychological, which give them stress or depression. So to overcome the harassment, what are the ways that could be done to prevent sexual harassment occur? What about you, Miss Diana? Can you share with us?
Thank you, Mr. Adam. In my opinion, one way to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace is to train your organization. A handbook is a key in ensuring that employees have a tangible resource they can review and reference if they do find themselves experiencing or witnessing sexual harassment. But it's also important to make sure employees are regularly reminded of your organization policies. So at least twice a year, you should hold a training session for your employee to review your handbook and keep it fresh in their minds. Encourage questions, encourage conversation, remind them of the complaint submission system, state in clear terms how seriously your organization takes sexual harassment. On the other side, train your supervisors on how to handle reports of sexual harassment. It may be wise to invite a professional speaker to speak to your supervisor about the issue. It can be difficult to effectively oversee a harassment claim, especially without training or experience. The worst case scenario is a complaint that is dismissed because a supervisor feels unable to effectively handle the situation. So it is very important to train your organization. That is from my point of view. Thank you.
Okay, that is a good solution. Next, what about you, Madam Intan?
In my opinion, sexual harassment in school can be eliminated if the student is educated and have been made aware on how to act against sexual harassment. This can be accomplished through training the student in school with proactive training where it requires participants to respond to inquiries about sexual harassment types, potential victim and perpetrators, and potential action that can be taken by victim. The purpose is to raise awareness of the problem of sexual harassment. The burden of the victim should be made as priority when designing responsive measures. If it's already happened, the victim should file a complaint so that counseling, punishment, or additional separation of the victim can be imposed depending on the nature and seriousness of the harassment. The schools bear a great responsibility to make sure that the harasser does not have another opportunity to harass another victim or any other people. I think that's all from me.
That is a good point. Thank you for your suggestion. How about you, Madam Shasha?
Thank you, Mr. Adam. As a counselor, I think the best way that I could suggest is for parents, which they should play their important role properly. Educate your children about body parts and the private parts, which mean you need to educate them about the body boundaries. Let them know that no one should take pictures of the private part or touching them. And most importantly is that to tell them these rules apply even with people they know and even with another children. Therefore, that is the best way that I could suggest, as everything starts from home and starts from the early age. That is all from me. Thank you.
Alright, thank you for all the opinions and suggestions that's given today. From all the panel opinion, I can conclude that sexual harassment indeed an immoral act and all the parties should have played their roles so that this problem can be curbed. Therefore, that's all for our discussion today. Thank you for joining our sharing session, and I hope this session will give benefits to all our audience today. That's all for today. Thank you.